It was very interesting to me. I wanted to build my own version of it. I read a lot about to go, then I started learning to code. Every company today, your company, my company, there's something that we're trying to figure out. There's a problem that we're trying to solve. You have to be able to figure out like what value can I provide to a company? What problem can I help them solve? You know, Aboyeji.
Yes.
I reached out to him on LinkedIn. I said, hey, I want to help build the Flutter Wave community. This was 2018. I said I have this community. I was building my community there in Consonance of of thousands of students, and he was just like, okay, let's meet. And that's how I met him, and he connected me with this person, and I started working with them to build, the first version of Flutter Wave community back then on Slack. And I was not getting paid. One day he just said, hey, I want to buy you a laptop. If you have the opportunity, it's like, what can I do to put me in that thing that is uncomfortable, right? But I know that I need it for where I'm going to. Go to a company and say, you know what? I want to sell for you. Don't pay me. Don't get me wrong. You have a job. I had access to developers, designers. What he was doing then was to help people host their websites. As a developer, you have built your website, you need a hosting service. Back then, they didn't have much, so he was building that solution. I remember my co-founder then saying, hey, should we just build an engine that just pins off this website for them? We are building literally the same thing for all of them. It's literally like a template. Why can't we just build an engine that will spin off websites? And we went into that project. So remember, this was not our core business. It was like a side project for us. Every business is a tech business. Tech today affords so many things that a lot of businesses in this part of the world are not taking advantage of.
Do you think entrepreneurship is for everyone?
I think.
Kelvin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
How's it going, man?
Going well. First time in Rwanda, so
I'm in Rwanda.
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I think I've been hearing and seeing Rwanda, and I'm like, I have to be here. And so it's good to be here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what is the most, let's say, surprising thing you saw when you came here?
Surprising, huh?
Or something that confirmed what you've been saying?
Oh, I think it's just, I think everybody like just chill. Like, people are, sometimes you can say some of them are is friendly, is just chill. Like, I'm not seeing fights, I'm not seeing people shout. Like, it's like nobody's shouting at each other. Nobody's like, everybody's just okay. But that's just my view, and I've been here for only like 2 days now. So
Yeah.
maybe it's not a completely
Very different from Lagos, right?
No. I think in Lagos, like if you're there 2 hours, you should have seen like 2 people fight. Like there's no how.
That's crazy. But yeah, that's good, man. Before we get to where you are today, let's take a couple of steps back, to young Kelvin, right? Growing up in Lagos, I'm assuming, or in Nigeria. What were some of the things that were going on in your mind? What did you want to do? What were you doing? What were you up to? Were you playing football? Were you, how was young Kelvin?
I think young Kevin was just fascinated about tech, but cars to be specific, right? So I was fascinated about cars. And I remember wanting to build my own flying car. So I always think around, rotors, motors, anything that I can just use slippers to make cars. So these rubber slippers, you cut circular this thing, and that's your tires. You have the toothpaste carton. It's like a rectangular box.
Yeah.
You cut it off like a truck, and we're just building that thing almost like every single time. Like that was what formed my entire childhood, like just cars. And that's why I went to study mechanical engineering in school, because I believe that, studying mechanical engineering would help me build cars. But yeah, here I am. Not building cars, not building cars.
Interesting, man. And what happened? So what happened? You went to study mechanical engineering, but you found yourself in tech. How did that happen?
So I think something else happened, like before I got into college, like before I got into the university. There was this app that was really popular called To Go. And did he?
I think I've heard about it.
Okay, so it was really popular. They had like 20 million customers, 20 million users, and about 70 million of them were from Nigeria, right? It was popular in Nigeria. Everybody was like on the phone, and this time we didn't even have all of these nice smartphones. It was like very those Symbian phones, Symbian phones, yeah, Symbian phones, and like everybody's just chatting with different people, meeting new people. I know I met some people from To Go, right? It was like the first social network that we actually were exposed to, and it was very interesting to me that I wanted to build my own version of it. And so I read a lot about To Go, and then I started learning to code because I wanted to build mine. I think it was just that thing where if you're saying something and you're really interested in doing it, and just going for it, I think I had that kind of feeling in my mind, that I can just see something. I'm like, oh, I want to do it, and I just need to go figure out how to. I went to Google. Oh, they use Python. They said it was their code base is Python. And I was like, yeah, I'm learning Python, and that's how I started learning Python. And so I started learning to code, and that was where I went into software while in school, right? So I was studying mechanical engineering, but I was building software. We released our app, which is not entirely like a chat, like To Go, but it was supposed to help, the students in our school connect with each other. So which is say similar, but not exactly. So we released our version, I think this was 2013, 2014, and it became popular in school. So I think I did it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you like a Mark Zuckerberg? Like that sounds like Facebook, man.
no. It never blew up. It never blew up. Like it was just in my school. Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting, man. And so what happened to that dream? Because I'm always interested in those kind of things because I'm like, a lot of us, we start off with like a specific dream or wanting to do something, but then we find ourselves like we fall in love with something else. So that's why I'm like, in your case, you wanted to build a flying car when you were young. You started studying mechanical engineering, but then tech just took over. So I'm just wondering, like, do you ever want to go back to that? Is that a dream where you're like, okay, this is it? Tech is now my thing.
I think for many of us, the ability to dream, first of all, I think that's even a privilege, right? The ability to dream and feel like you can go for something, I think that's a privilege. But I don't think that, the goal for me, is, saying, hey, this is this dream and I'm going to kill myself trying to achieve that dream. I think like the dream is always there to help us, to give us purpose at, at every point in our life, so at every point in our life, there's something that drives you, gives you purpose, gives your life meaning, something that you're constantly doing, something that is helping you learn, grow. And, it can always change. And I believe that, for most of us, it would always change. Not because the dreams that we set in the beginning is not achievable, but we become skilled in new things. We have different capabilities and we want to explore, other things. Hopefully, for someone like me as an entrepreneur, I might probably go back to building flying cars, but again, it's not about the flying cars. I think what flying cars signified to me was that, young Kelvin being very ambitious, very, mindful about where, the kind of future that I wanted to, to see, right? And I felt like I could actually make that future happen.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like the most beautiful part of the entire story here. It's just, the ability to dream and feel like, hey, you know what, I can actually do something today that will drive me to that. Right? Even if it changes it's fine. But at each point, what is that dream? And today I have a different dream about commerce in Africa, right? And maybe in 5 years, 10 years, it might change. But for now, that is what is pushing me. That's what is giving me purpose. That's, and that's what is exciting. So
yeah. So you built your first tech product.
Yeah.
doesn't take off, as you say it, but a few people use it, right?
Yeah, thousands.
Thousands.
Let's try to say, I was like, well, when you said Matt Zuber, like,
They didn't become violins, but a few thousand people use it, right? What did you learn about that process of building your first tech product?
hi, I think a lot. Like it was my first time building a tech, product. I don't even think that I was thinking too much about it, and I think that was a good thing at the time because sometimes we let overthinking things, even be the thing to stop us. Like we're not thinking about, hey, we wanted this office or this, like nothing. It was just the fun of this thing. We're just gonna build it, right? So I had a lot of people in the team, volunteers, all volunteers. Nobody was being paid anything from me to everybody on the team. We were like 20, like, and we are building tech products right there in school. What it showed me back then, because like there were not a lot of things that people could put their energy into. Like a lot of us we're learning, but we did not have like an active project that is out there that, and I think a lot of people need that, right? But, that was not available. And me creating that gave even a lot of my friends and a lot of people the opportunity to build something at the time. And I think like, if I think about one of the most important things for me and where I am today is always finding something to do, to apply yourself, always apply yourself, don't stay in that, you know, learning phase for like for the longest time, immediately just try to find a way to create value out of what you're doing, sell the value, just go through the entire thing. And I think that was like a key learning for me, and I would always share. I think I just recently shared that to my brother because he was going into university. I was like, hey, ensure that you apply yourself, ensure that you find your way to, do something, find a project to work on, volunteer, just apply yourself. I think other things would be the fact that I got to start working with a lot of people. This is over 10 years ago now, but it's like gave me the opportunity to start leading teams, and I'm saying product teams as far back as then, right? So it was learning everything, that I'm doing today currently, maybe at bigger scale, but you know how difficult it is to drive people that you're not paying money. Yeah. You know, right now I feel like, because if you have money and you tell people, hey, do this, and you pay them salary, they have to do it. Yes, or they will not get their pay, and that's enough motivation. But at the time, you literally have there's no money, there's no stipend, there's no one single benefit. So it means that you have to basically drive based off on an inspiration. Like, hey, show a vision of something that people would want to attach themselves to. And I think that that's where the whole, my ability to even start selling, came from. Well, it has coming from far back when I was much younger, when I was selling. I used to sell like in secondary school. But like this gave me an opportunity to start, I don't know, maybe it's leading, inspiring other people to build something, inspiring action, which took me to another phase of my life, which is community building, right? I think it started from that point because that's the skills that you need for that. I don't think is the same as me now, where I'm just at, we have budget for payroll and, you can pay people. I think that is different and that is a lot difficult. And, you know, a lot of learnings to come out of that, dealing with different people. And so, yeah, I think that's a key learning point for me. Yeah, I think, and a few other things, just the art of selling, because I had to go from class to class to announce the product, right? Um, so like before, we targeted classes before the lecture starts. So we go to a lecture hall. So before the lecturer comes in, everybody's seated waiting for the lecturer. then we start announcing. We start announcing, hey guys, you need to, and people are like, nobody's answering you or this thing. You're just dealing with that rejection from there, and it's fine. And you're doing it day to day again and again. And I think that was great, a great learning opportunity also for me from that period.
Interesting. So many things there. But what I'm wondering is there might be people watching us or listening to us, right? Whether like I'm actually at that point
Yeah.
where maybe I'm kicking off a startup, right? Maybe I don't have the money to hire a bunch of people, but I need smart people to work with me. How do I get them on board? How do I convince them to join this mission, which is crazy, and they're not getting paid? Yeah, well, what are the tips for somebody who's going through that right now?
I would say that beyond a goal, a product, a feature to build, it's the mission. I think a mission is usually something that people would want to attach themselves to. And so any founder that I know today, I would say, hey, you know work with a mission rather than just thinking about, hey, I want to build this product. So what is the mission? And this is really important because I think the product can even change. You can pivot. But then what is that underlying mission? I remember when we started Bumper, we were building because of COVID-19.
Mm.
Right. A lot of people were building the same thing during COVID-19. But, when everybody, during the lockdown, people were, they could not go to their stores. Everybody was at home and businesses were basically, struggling. And so we were releasing an easy way for you to sell online. That made sense for that period. The question is, after COVID-19 and when everybody was coming back, who are you? What are you doing? Because your entire seller at that time was COVID-19. Hey, because of the lockdown now. So what helped us at that time was the fact that we were running towards a mission. So we could evolve our business. And it was not dependent on one particular thing. And we will continue to evolve, again and again, just because the mission that we're working with is a lot, is much bigger. And the interesting thing about mission is that you never really achieve it.
Mm.
When Google says, hey, we want to organize the world's information, like, do you actually get to the point where you say, like, oh, we've organized all the world's information, like, and we are done?
Mm.
No, it's just constantly, now there's now information in videos. Now they have to do Instagram to organize that. And they just keep on, there's text, and now they did threads to organize that. Sorry, that's Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook wants to connect everyone in the world.
Yeah.
And they're doing that even with their virtual reality headset. Like, how do we get people to connect anyway? And I think that's like what some important thing, or like the greatest tip that anybody can give to someone that is, hey, looking for people to work with them on anything. It's like, what is that mission that you're working with? Like, something that people can be inspired by and people would feel like, hey, I like that future. I see myself living in that future and I want to be a part of that future too. So I think if you can drive with a mission and sort of discuss that with people, I think that would work. Other things would be obviously being in certain places that would help. So for me, back in school, I was part of a lot of different kind of communities, tech communities. So we had GDG, OAU, we had there's something called iLab, it had like some computer students, some, electrical students. Me, I was like the only mechanical student that was there. I had to force myself to join, even if they were like, it was not, I said, hey, I'm already skilled with this thing. Like, it's not like, I can bring value, and I had to pitch myself to actually be a part of that community. Inside that community is where I met even the people that became part of my team then. So, if I sat down at home or in my class, mechanical engineering, just feeling like, oh, this is something I wanted to build, I don't think, even if I even had the mission and I was telling people, they could not even do anything because they were not even in the same headspace as I was. And so, the community would really be a big plus. What communities are you part of? And don't just stay. I see people just stay and wait for things to come to them or fall on their laps. Like as I said, in a community that did not even include mechanical engineering, I went there, said, see, pitched myself, right? And I want to be a part of that community, right? And I think that that's the part that people do not want to take. It's like, don't just sit, figure out ways to put yourself inside things. There was this Onye. He's popular in Nigeria. I don't know if you know. What's it that one?
What's the company?
And right now he's an Amazon. Like, he's one of my big supporters, right? And also my investor. I had to. He was organizing an event called Oyameku Grove. It's happening again for the X time in this year, December. It happens every year, December. Now, Onye is like one of the first like supporters of Paystack, OG in the tech space. So I went on Twitter and I saw that he was organizing something. It was 2017, the very first one. I could not reach out to him on Twitter. Do you know how I reached out to him? On Eventbrite. Do you know the app called Eventbrite? Eventbrite, there's something called Contact Organizer. I clicked on Contact Organizer and I said, hey, I want to volunteer. I would like this. He was like, oh, the space, like, he has his volunteers already, like, no worries. He responded, which is great. I said, oh, no. And he also said, oh, there's no shirts because all volunteers have to. I said, don't worry, I don't actually not need a shirt.
Yeah.
I just want to come support, right? And I would, here are the things that I will be able to do. He just said, you know what, okay, just come, right? And I got there and I did not really have work to do. Like, I was just trying to support, like, hey, organizing the chairs, I just go in there early. But then the MCs were very late, right? The event is supposed to start and there was nobody. I picked the mic and I became the... And, when he was talking about events, like, he mentioned me that this is someone, like, from that time till now, I've been part of that. I have worked with him for years, just because, and that's that action there that I think, like, people need to be able to take and not leave themselves in that place that, they said, be taking no for an answer, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, finding a mission, working towards building out working in a community, finding a place that will get you those kind of like-minded people, like almost like the most important thing, right? Being in the right space. I think there's like two key things that I think anybody would do.
No, I agree. I agree with putting yourself out there. I think it's definitely one of the biggest things that you can ever do for yourself, right? I talk about it. I mean, I'm in the job space. I talk to a lot of people who are looking for jobs or maybe looking to change careers, and they're like, "How do I find a job?" And I always tell people that it starts with applying online is not gonna give you the results because there's so many people applying.
Yeah.
But if you're able to get out of your bed, if there's a networking event, attend it, speak to people, collect some business cards, like, just be out there. There's always opportunities. People always give opportunities to people they know, right? So if somebody met you and you talked about something very interesting, then they're going to be thinking about you when that something pops up. So, it seems to be going back to putting yourself out there, right?
Yeah, I think if anybody has a skill,
Yeah.
there's no how you will not have a job.
Mm.
So this is gonna feel like, no. But think about this for a moment. Every company today, your company, my company, there's something that we're trying to figure out. There's a problem that we're trying to solve. You have to be able to figure out, like, what value can I provide to a company? What problem can I help them solve? Right? And if you're able to do that, anybody will hire you in a heartbeat. You would not even go through the interview process.
Straight.
And that's the thing and I've done this a couple of times already. Aboyeji.
Yes.
I reached out to him on LinkedIn. I said, hey, I want to help build the Florida Wave community. This was 2018, And I said I have this community because I was building my community there in consonance of of thousands of students that could, and he was just like, okay, let's meet. And that's how I met him, and he connected me with this person, and I started working with them to build, a first version of Further Wave community back then on Slack. And that's and I was not getting paid. Yeah. Right. I was not getting paid. Until, one day, he just said, hey, I want to buy you a laptop. And he bought me my first MacBook. Right. And that was him just, saying thank you or well done for the work that you have been doing. The same thing when I was going to work at Ingressive Capital, Maya. I I put down a document. I still have this document here today. I wrote down, hey, here's what I'm gonna do to help you build your community. Everybody has problems. And I went, I gave it, I sent it to her, right? She saw it and connected me with Sean Burrows, who was managing the organization at that time. We met up. I sent the document. They were just like, "Oh, they like it," and I put it there in that document. Then that, hey, I only need you to pay for my internet and power. This was cost. It costed 38,000 naira at the time. 38,000 naira, maybe like I don't know, maybe $200. Actually, less. Yeah. So I said, you just need to pay me, cover my internet costs, which is, a lot cheap, about 20 something dollars. And I said, that's all I need. And they said, okay. And I started working with them, I remember that when I was going to leave, they said, hey, they were going to increase my pay to about, now I'm just thinking dollars and naira, but at that time it was going to be 250,000 naira. So someone that was earning 38,000 naira, they wanted to give me 20, but I could not stay because I was trying to build something else. But what that experience is, just point out is the fact that, hey, people, right, companies always have problems. Don't think about, what, let me just I'm just gonna send. I see people send me emails and just be like, and I'm sure you get those emails later. Oh, I'm a content writer. Let me write in your company. For what? Like, write what? They don't even care if you're hiring or not. They just want to send that. And it's like, no. If somebody sends, like, what was one thing that you're trying to achieve right now in your company?
Sales.
Sales. If somebody comes to you now and say, hey, I have a way to sell to, 100 people to bring in your next 100 sales. Wait, what's the first thing that you say?
Yes.
It's a no-brainer.
No
Right?
brain.
It's a no-brainer. Except if you don't have any skill, right?
Exactly.
But if you have a skill, please.
No, you will start by saying yes, and then we figure out later if you actually know the skills.
And that's the thing. It's like, hey, please, if you have skills, and I'm just speaking to anybody that's listening, if you have skills, change your approach.
Yeah.
Don't just send out CVs to 100 places and just actually target the places that you want to be and design how figure out what problem they are trying to solve and just show how you're going to solve that problem, right? And if you're good at what you do, don't even request for money in the beginning.
Exactly.
Don't request for money. And I've seen it happen again and again. And the money will come to you. Like, because if you show me back, if for instance, I come to you and I say, hey, I can get you your next 100 sales. You say yes. And I say, I'm going to do it for free. First thing is like, you say, okay, because it's not going to cost you anything, right? I go on and I get to the 100 people and I said, okay, I'm done. I'm leaving. Bye. What do you tell me?
Please, what would it take to make
to make me stay? And that's where I can now, if before you're putting your role, say for, say, 50,000 franc, I'm going to tell you 200,000 franc. And if it's worth it, you're going to pay for it.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of just going for what you want.
Exactly. And adding value, showing value, it's the biggest. I mean, I love the fact that you just say that because that's essentially what I always talk about in my talks in universities, anywhere. I always tell people that the best way to get out of unemployment, right? It's not to complain that, oh, there's not enough jobs. Oh, I'm applying. Nobody gets back to me. These companies are, hiring their brothers and sisters, these HR managers. And I'm like, it's not personal. It's not, the company doesn't have anything personal against you, right?
Exactly.
The competition is too big. But also at the same time, once you realize that, you have to stop being a victim. You have to understand and say, how can I take matters in my own hands and say, all right, applying is not working, right? Sending my resume, cold emailing these people is not working. How can I be creative in my job search? I need to add value, right? I always tell people, if you're a software engineer, literally just go and use any of, pick 5 companies, right, in your city and go and use their platforms, right? So create an account, try to become a user, try to play around a little bit and literally just detect bugs, right? Wherever you face a bug, just document it, and then write a let's say an email to the CEO of the company, or even a message on Twitter or LinkedIn, and just say, hey, I was using a platform. These are the 5 things that I noticed that are really bad. What I always tell people is that when you write someone an email asking for something, I need a job or whatever, people never answer. They're very busy. But every busy person is very insecure about their product or service. We are all insecure about our products. If somebody can poke a hole in your product, you will respond to that email right away. If somebody can tell you, these are the challenges I saw on your platform, I tried to do this, here's a screenshot. Oh my God, that email, you would answer it in right away. Even if you're in the airport, you'll be like, okay, I need to answer to this person. So, but then you don't see a lot of people taking matters in their own hands. They want to blame it on so many different factors, right? But then again, sleeping at home is not gonna lend you the job. You have to, take matters in your own hands and go out there and get it. It's crazy. But so you built your first social media network. Let's call it that, right? A couple of thousand people use it. Well, what's the next thing that you built? What's the next thing, and how does the next idea come about?
So the next thing that I worked on was the community I said I was building.
Okay.
So like, because we built that and it became very popular in school,
Yeah.
a lot of people were reaching out to me and saying, hey, how did you? Oh, I wanted to, I'm doing this. I just started getting influx of that messages, but I could not respond to all of them, right? I did not build the thing entirely. So I brought in my entire team, right, inside the WhatsApp group. At that time, WhatsApp was becoming popular. So I added everybody to a WhatsApp group, and anybody that met me up or reached out and say, hey, I need help, I just added it to the WhatsApp group, right? And before you knew it, it became like a thing. So people would ask questions. I would go find anybody that could, answer the question, and I will, I'll tell them to respond. Before you knew it, that the community became something, right? And then we started doing events inside of school, and this was when I was about to leave the school, and and that's where Consonance, which is my other organization, started from. So that's like the next thing that I was into. And I was just big on community.
Yeah.
So, but it started based off of what I built.
Yeah.
And people wanted to know and learn and stuff. And then,
Yeah.
we started.
I'm noticing a couple of things in your journey, right? Number one, I don't think you were scared to sell, because you could go into these classrooms and just like, hey guys, drop on my app, right? Which is something that, so I get asked that question a lot, right? So for example, in the previous conversation we just had about putting yourself out there and trying to get opportunities. So a lot of people, either being entrepreneurs or trying to get a job, a lot of people say that requires you to be not afraid of putting yourself out there. And a lot of people are introvert, right? So if you found founders who are very good at building, but they're like, I just don't know how to sell. Like, you tell me to build something, I'll build it. Like, it will be great, but I don't know how to put myself out there. Because putting yourself out there, like doing sales, you almost have to be willing to take rejections, because probably 80% of people are always going to reject whatever you're selling, but you keep selling. And a lot of people who are introverts, they always fear that, because they're like, if somebody rejects whatever I'm doing, that's it. I'm not speaking to anybody else. That's it, right? And that's the reason why you don't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing that in your story, you have this energy where you're not afraid to sell. And number two, it gets you into, let's say, community building as well. right? So you have this, you're building these communities for yourself at school, but you're also building it for, these other tech companies. And what I want to understand is, how have you seen those two things play, let's say, as advantages for you as a founder today? Like being able to put yourself out there and sell, and being able to build a community.
I would say that I think the ability to sell, what I realize is it takes a lot of practice. And practice, I mean, is not in, looking at yourself in the mirror and talking stuff. Nick, I don't think I've ever done that before. I think talking is actually just going in. So for me, it's making a commitment to do this thing, regardless of the responses. So if you're waiting for, how do people react, it means that you're acting based on you're reacting based on people's reaction to what you're saying. But if you have a commitment to sell to 20 people, you have to sell to them regardless of their own comments or reactions. Like, you're not reacting to their reaction. You just know that you have to sell. And then you're taking it as a learning point for you to just improve yourself, right? So take, for instance, when I was in, doing that whole thing, like, I used to shake like crazy, right? And I mean visibly shake, right? If I was going to speak in a crowd of people, right? But I would do it regardless, and I would be shaking while doing it. So I started learning different techniques that was helping me at the time. Like, for one, it was like when I try to make a joke in the beginning, it eases me up, right? So I try to laugh, So now, almost like even before this conversation, I just laughed with you, like when we shake. Like, it's like something that happens. Like, I don't even think about it, because now my body knows, like, once I do that, I'm just comfortable, right? And so it's just finding that thing for yourself. I don't know, for other people, it may not be that. Some people don't need it because they are just great at speaking, right? But I know that I was not born with it, because I remember all of the experiences that I've gone through, right? Today, I'm in Rwanda. I went to Kenya, and I've just been going to business one by one, like directly, right? And even some partners don't do that, especially if you've, maybe you're like me, you've raised money, you just feel like, you don't need to do that again. I still do that. Till today, I don't have any issue in doing that. And, I don't need to tell them, hey, I'm, we are popular in Nigeria. Nothing. It's just that ability to talk to people and, engage and just try to figure out what the problem is. Like, and I'm still doing that today. So those are like things that have helped, that was important then, and have still helped me to today, like being in different kind of positions. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think that I would ever stop, being nervous.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that people think, that people that talk and, can sound confident, they are never nervous. And because they're nervous, they think that they are not up to, these other people. And I think it's a lie. I still get nervous as every other person. The only thing is that when you're used to a particular level, you become so used to it.
Yeah.
But then when you go to the next level, you will start from beginning again and become nervous. I don't know if that happened to you, say, when you were speaking I know you were speaking with the president, which certainly you're nervous.
Yes, of course.
That's the thing about it. Do you know that people would not feel like you're nervous? They just feel like, hey, the you that is speaking with me now and the you that spoke with the president is the same. No. It's like the you that's speaking with me is just like, he's my guy, it's chill. But when you go to the next level, like, you would feel the same nervousness, but then you would do it regardless.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty about just, hey, regardless, is like a commitment to yourself. Like, I'm gonna do this regardless.
Yeah.
I might be shaking. People might be saying, no. I'm just gonna do it regardless, And I think it would it has helped me till today. I don't have a sales team in my company today, although I'm planning on building one next.
Oh yeah, you did say that. Yeah, that's interesting. Actually,
I am my own salesperson. Like I'm the salesperson in my team. I actually, like, if you look at when they say, hey, companies are coming, you will see my name there as the salesperson that brought in the you know what. So
that's crazy.
in the company they will say, hey, this is from marketing, and this is from success upgrades, then this is Kelvin. Because I would actually reach out to businesses on Instagram. If I'm gonna buy anything from any business on Instagram today, they have to use Bumpa, right? Like every opportunity to sell, I'm just there. And I think like it starts from just practicing and putting yourself out there. Some people will not respond. It doesn't matter. Like I'm just gonna reach out to the next person again. So I think that has helped a lot. In the part of building communities, right? I think like that entire experience from running the app that then I built was that we built was voice app, right? That entire interaction of working with people, right, has also helped in this aspect of sales, right? It has helped in this aspect of working with people, building teams, running partnerships, because when you get to speak with a lot of different kind of people, I think that you get to learn the different kind of reactions to statements. You get to understand body languages a lot. There's a difference between if I'm speaking to 100 people and you don't speak to anybody. I don't know if you see this thing where say somebody has like a child that has been cooped in their house for so long, 10 years, then they come out and they are shy.
Yeah.
They are not shy because that's how they get better to them. They're shy because they don't know how to interact with the world that they are seeing, right? They have been in an environment that they have not practiced certain things. It is going to be different from that person that has been interacting, right? They have faced a lot of things, they've seen a lot of things. And so somebody will look at both of them and say, this one is introvert, this one is extrovert. But no, this person has not interacted enough with the world. And it's like a new, where you see something new, how you would be again. It's going to be that thing where you would feel, for instance, if it's like speaking to people, like say for instance you don't know anybody here in Rwanda, then you travel to the US, right? So you're not exposed. You don't even know that there are people that are white.
Yeah.
You travel to the US and then you're seeing white people and they are speaking and they're confident, and then you just, even if you're like you just lose all your confidence, then you look like your self-esteem just goes down.
Yeah.
It is not because you are shy naturally. It is just because you are in a new environment and that's one thing. So you have to constantly force yourself into those environments, right? So if you want to be better at selling, if you want to be better, you have to just continue to interact with people constantly, right? Regardless of what you think that you are, right? Because people know how to label themselves very well.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, I am introvert. I think it's also fulfilling. Like, then even when you have the opportunity to speak, you tell yourself, no, I should not speak because I'm an introvert, right? And that is a problem for yourself and your own mindset, right? You have to be anything to get anything that you want. That's what I tell myself. I have to be anything that is necessary to get to the salesperson, anything to get what I want. Right? That's obviously moral, legal, exactly. But I can't be anything to achieve the goal that I want to be and to achieve. And that's like, for instance, there was this person that told me, hey, I don't speak in public. It's not my thing. I said, who told you it's not your thing? Who actually told you it's not your thing? Like, where did that conclusion come? Like, did they, when they were giving birth to us, did they say, oh, Yusuf, your thing? Kelvin, not your thing? No. That is a mindset, a conditioning that has happened because of maybe something.
Yeah.
Maybe they spoke in class one day, people laughed, And that defined them, that point, and they believe that, oh, speaking in public was not their thing. But I don't think it's somebody's thing, and it's not. If you need to do that, you should do it, regardless. And I think that that's just a lot of the problems that, we see today when people are not putting themselves out there. It's still hinged on the fact that there's how people see themselves, and they need to change that mindset about themselves, right? But all of us are still going to be struggling, right? But some people are just going to look better at it. Exactly. They'll look better doing it, but it does not mean that they're better than you, or they're born like that. No, it just means that they've exposed themselves to that thing for a while. They have practiced it. They've done it a few times. And they have made a commitment to just do that thing. And that's all that you need to be able to do. Just, hey, I'm gonna put myself out there. I remember in secondary school, I wanted to become the head prefect. They did election. I did not win.
Fun fact, I have a similar story. I tried to run and I literally got like one vote.
I was close, but I did not win for some reason, right? But I did not end it there, right? I went to the vice principal at that time and I said, hey, I have been taking first position in my class for this thing. I think that I should be the ambassador of the school. In the assembly, when they were announcing the prefects, they announced all the prefects to head boy, and they created a new position, ambassador of the school. And I became the ambassador of the school. That position did not exist before me. And I'm not sure it existed after me, right? But I went to their office and I became the ambassador of the school. Now, I also, because I wanted to, speak, I wanted to be better at speaking in public, because as I said, when I was younger, like I shake visibly.
Yeah.
I told them that, so the teachers at that time used to come in to make the announcements. I said I wanted to be making the announcements. The teachers that they did not even care. They just like, okay. So every day I had to come to the assembly. So there's just like, there's a first floor, and it's looking at the compound. So everybody's lined up in your classes, and then you have to be up there. I have to go up there and announce, give the announcement. Hey, this is coming up. This is this in. This is this in. Do you know that at some point people did not know the head boy? Everybody felt like I was the head boy of the school because I was in everything, right? But it's not. Again, I'm not trying to replace the head, but I was just doing my thing and trying to put myself out there and trying to practice. And I think if you have the opportunity, it's like, what can I do to put me in that thing that is uncomfortable, right? But I know that I need it for where I'm going to, right? So if it's selling, go to a company and say, you know what? I want to sell for you. Don't pay me. So don't get me wrong. You have a job, right? You have a job already, but you say, hey, I want to be better at selling. Your job currently is not in sales, but you want to be better at selling. Go to another person's this thing and say, you know what, I want to volunteer for you and I want to sell for you during the weekends, right? There's nobody that you tell them that you want to sell for them and they will tell you, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. Go there and tell them you want to sell for them. They'll say yes. Get all the materials you need and then start selling. Obviously, it does not matter. Like if you do not succeed, it does not at least affect your job, right? But you would learn, right? And I feel like people just need to first put themselves in that position. Put yourself in that position, and then you will see the difference in you, like in yourself, in your earning power, like in the kind of things that you'll be able to achieve. And I think that that's just what anybody needs to do.
Yeah, I agree, 100%, man. Tell me about Bumpa. What are the circumstances that led to the birth of the idea, right? What was happening around you? You were building communities at this point.
I had done other things
as well, but what was happening in your life at that point? And what are the circumstances that gave birth to even thinking about this problem?
So I think one of the things to mention is that my mom and dad were both small business owners, right? I used to go to my mom's shop every Saturday, to help out, right? I think that's I was exposed to small businesses, early on. But when I finished school, I was working with my current co-founder who had a company back then called Host Cabal, right? And I was basically trying to, at this time I had tech communities, right? I was building tech communities. So I had access to developers, designers. And what he was doing then was to help people host their websites, right? So as a developer, you have built your website, you need a hosting service, maybe now people use AWS, Namecheap. Back then we had Google Hosts. They didn't have much, so he was building that solution, right? And so he could help you host. So because he needed developers, so I came in to help with basically getting developers. Again, that's another thing because I just reached out and said, let me help you get the developers. And he said, yes. He was paying me an amount of money, very small. By the next month, because of the results, he increased it. The next month, he increased it. It's like every month, my pay was basically increasing just because of how valuable I was becoming in the organization. Till I was now hiring for the organization. I was running the business for the entire organization just by coming to volunteer in the organization, right? So think about it. I volunteered in an organization, and today me and him were co-founders for Bumpa. So now at this time, we're trying to serve developers. So I was, trying to sell to developers. And what happened was we started getting entrepreneurs, business owners themselves, reach out saying, hey, I want your website. I want you to host my website. And we're like, where's the website? Because we're only a hosting service. Yes. And they were like, I want to help you. I want you to host my website. I said, where's the website? I said, oh, I don't have the website. We're like, that's not how we work. Like here, well, we sell to developers. So you have to have gotten a developer to build the website, then you now come to us to host it, right? And so that one we go, that customer will leave. Then another person comes in and say, I don't have. We had to speak and say, you know what? Let's build the website. Well, we were both technical, so it's like, let's just build the websites, and then host for them, instead of waiting for the developers to build it and host. And so we started building websites for these business owners directly, and they just kept on coming. We talk about it and say, hey, I think that was like a failed marketing that we did at some point, that just brought those kind of people because we were supposed to be selling. Our customer segment were developers. We were only at developer events. So our lingo was just for developers. I don't know. I think it's a failed marketing that brought in entrepreneurs, but then it exposed us to now actually building websites for business owners, right? Then after building, this guy comes to say, build a website. We build it. This one, we realized they all want the same thing. It's just an e-commerce website. So I remember my co-founder then saying, hey, should we just build an engine that just pins off this website for them, right? So we don't have to, because we are building literally the same thing for all of them. It's literally like a template. So why can't we just build an engine that will spin off websites? And we went into that project. So remember, this was not our core business. It was like a side project for us, right? Our core business was Host Cabal. So we called this one Sales Cabal. Right. I had to go to different, business owners. I remember going to business owners to go and ask their website needs, blah, blah, blah. We did some market research and then we came back and then we were building that thing, and then we released it and then a few people were in it. But again, it's a side project. So we left it, right? We left it. We never pushed it as a product. We never saw it as a company, right? But this was 2018. So I left it. I joined TechQuest, Ingressive, I did other things. But by 2020, COVID hit. There was lockdown. I just got a call randomly from, my my current co-founder then. Then he was, my ex-boss. And it's like, hey, this thing that we built that time, right? Let's, it will be very useful right now, right? During COVID-19 because people were offline. I'm like, that's true. And I was working at CC Hub this time. I was a program manager at CC Hub, running some programs for COVID-19, trying to, support startups that were doing things for COVID-19, like how to get food across to people when they need it. So just focused on COVID-19. But then we started just, let's start thinking on this. And we tinkered on it and released the first version in this thing in 2020. And so that's sort of like how, that idea came to be. And it did not come from, oh, I want to build a startup and, it was from, we are working somewhere, you show value enough, right? That you become important enough to build something with, something critical. Then you also, we waited for an event, something that the nightmares did kind of keep talking, the timing was right, and then we came together to release it. So again, I would say like, for anybody building, I think like, the times that you're going to be an employee is going to be very important, right? Because many people think like maybe, founders, we just jump inside of it, or maybe we're born founders. If, we're born entrepreneurs, but not necessarily, right? The entire point of founding or entrepreneurship is basically solving a problem, right? And there's so much exposure that you get even while working in an organization. The question is like, if you're working, say for my my co-founder at that time, would you apply yourself into building that project, right? Because that project, I was not being paid for it. Yeah. Like it's just like another application of, oh, this thing is fun, let's do it. And I was just excited about doing it, right? And we built it together in 2018. Obviously, when it was now time to build it out, I was the person like, it was me that you would have to call back to work on it. So some people have this feeling of it's not my company. I'm not going to carry it in my head. I'm like, I don't have that kind of thing. Every company I've worked at, it will be hard to even figure out who is the CEO between me and CEOs. I will carry it in on my head. Like it will become my persona. Yeah. Right. Like I will talk about it on Twitter. I would like the same way I'm carrying my company now. You will feel like it's because it's my company, but this is how I also be if it's not my company. Yeah. Right. And I think like that has always helped me in everywhere that I have been. And, that's why I still have very good relationship with almost everybody I've worked with. Right. And people would always tell me, even when I leave, they'll say, help me find people like you. Right. Because that ownership, I will take it on. I will carry it on my head. I will do everything to make the company successful. Yeah. Right. And it has never mattered how much I was being paid. Right. So I think, that's sort of like the story of where Bumpa birth. Yes, the birth.
Yeah. And interesting. So what I'm thinking right now is on a macro level, right? What is the problem? Now you've been working on it for a while, right? You're in Kigali now, Kenya, all these different markets. You've met many business owners, right? What is the problem on a macro level that Bumpa is trying to solve?
I think one of the biggest things, right, for us is there's a saying something I say. I said, every business is a tech business, right? What I mean with that statement is that tech today affords so many things that a lot of businesses in this part of the world are not taking advantage of, right? So there are new technologies, old technologies, but you still see a lot of businesses running their businesses manual. So it means that they have to physically come to a place, display their products before they make any sale, right? They have to they have to, do work, like actual work, like in that moment to close every single sale, right? But there's the age of marketing now, social media marketing, content marketing, email marketing. They don't have access to any of those. And I'm sure you know businesses like that. And that's what we call informal businesses, right? Even the ones that will say formal, that maybe they use Instagram, a lot of them are still limited in the number of things that they're able to use, number of technologies they can use for their business. And that's like the first thing in our mission. It's like, how can we ensure that technology is easily accessible to almost every business owner for them to use technology to manage and to grow their business? That's like our first mission. And as I mentioned about mission, it's like, does that end? No, because now there's AI. AI is tech. Now I have to figure out how can I make AI accessible to business owner. Quantum technology, maybe next 10 years, we would figure out how to use that. And that's like an unending mission for us. It's like every business is a tech business. And so our goal is to arm every business owner, give them superpowers on their phones to say, hey, these are the things that I want to be able to do for my business, and and help them take their small business from one corner of the, a remote village, for instance, in any country, to become a global brand. Right? Big businesses take advantage of this. They hire a lot of people, they hire tech people. For small businesses, what do they have? Maybe some of them are just solopreneurs doing their thing by themselves. They don't have access to be able to, get developers to build this, to build that. So it means that the design makes them already disadvantaged. So if you're a big business, you will continue to be bigger because you're using technology. But then a small business, because you never use technology, you would either be going down, you shut down, or you stay on the best you can do is to stay on the same level most times. Yeah. And so this is something that we want to change. That's like the first thing. The second thing is, in the age of so many channels, so many services out there, right? So now you want to use tech, but there's so many services, so many channels. How do we reduce the fragmentation of channels? I want to sell today on Instagram, WhatsApp. I want to sell on my website. I want to sell in my physical store, but I have like 7 physical locations. How do I bring everything together? I'm using this payment solution to collect money. I want to use this logistics services. I want to do marketing. It is so much things for a small business owner to think about. The question is, how do we help with that? And that is where the next mission, which is sort of reducing the fragmentation of set channels and services that businesses are using. So for Bumpa now can help you track your sales across all of the different channels where you sell, right? So from one place, I'm just saying, hey, I'm doing this on Instagram, WhatsApp, I'm doing this on my physical store. Hey, this is where I need to put more, effort into. They're able to say, hey, how can I get an order? And immediately the logistics guy is already informed. I don't need to do much because everything is now talking to each other. So for instance, let me give you an example. If you sell on Jumia today, Jumia can only show you what you do on Jumia, but that's not your full business. If you use Flutterwave will show you the payments you collected on Flutterwave, but you probably have another account number, you probably use another. All of these people show you what you do on only their service. Bumpa is trying to show you what you're doing across services, across channels, and that gives you a more holistic view of your business in a simple way, right? So that's like the second and key mission. I think the third one that we're not big on yet is data. Everybody knows that Africa is a black box. We don't necessarily use data. And the question is, how can we use data to help businesses make informed decisions? Right? It ties to the first one, which is more like using tech, but we had to separate this because this is like critical, it's important. It's probably where AI fits into it. It's like, how can I ensure that businesses are able to make better decisions based off of the data that they're getting around their business? Now, because we've helped you get into tech, right, to start using tech, and we've also now connected all your channels, all your services together, we have the best view of your business to be able to give you, better insights into your business. Hey, this channel needs work, right? I think you can do better in this channel if you do this and this. Hey, this inventory, people don't necessarily buy it around May. Maybe you should not restock for now. You can restock in 3 months. We don't do this part now, right? But just think about and AI now is going to make that even a lot better. So that is like where we're going to. It's like the next phase for us, right? So it's like 1, 2, then 3. So as you can tell, like me, I'm very mission driven. It's not a product, it's not a feature. It's just these ideas of where commerce should be, for many businesses that's, and we're running towards it, and building for it.
Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't focus on the small businesses because they feel like there's no money to be made there. Small businesses come and go, right? They fail very quickly.
Because they don't use tech.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they are building to survive. Right. When you think about small businesses in a market like the US, it's very different. The small businesses there are not, they become what we call family-owned businesses. They make chocolate and they have factories and they're selling to multiple states in the US, and that's also a small business, right? But here, they're mostly micro businesses they think about running businesses like for survival, as a survival thing. Like, hey, I just want to make money, and hopefully we change that mindset. It's like, hey, no, that thing you're doing, you're building a made in Rwanda brand. Hey, you can sell it in the US from here. You don't need to carry your load and go there. You can sell it and you will not need to think about anything. Right, you can sell it in the UK right from here, and that's like the vision for us. It's like, hey, how do we get small business owner thinking about building things, and helping you open you up to markets, just because you're using technologies.
Yeah. Are you the Shopify of Africa or are you the Bumpa of Africa?
When we raised, they said we were the Shopify, but right now, when we think about our mission, it's like, obviously, if you're comparing features and some certain capabilities, we look like Shopify, but we're designed for, small businesses, people that would, that may not even have gone to a university, and we're trying to make it very easy, right? So if you pick Shopify today, pick Bumpa today, you will see the big difference there is just how simple Bumpa is in just understanding what I need to do and just achieving my goal. For instance, immediately you sign up today, you get a website today that has payments already installed, everything. If you sign up today on Shopify, you will need to go and design your website, then you will need to go sign up on a payment gateway, then copy API keys. You're dealing with people that don't even know what API is, right? And so we've abstracted all of those complexities, all of those things, and just said, hey, come in 30 seconds and just get a website and sell this your nice shirts. I told you that I should join in. Just sell this your nice shirt, right?
No, I'm definitely
Go to Bumpa.shop, sir. You see this where we are selling it. So that's like, I think that's the beauty of what we're building, because for this market is not, so I think at that point we're now like the Bumpa of Africa, not the Shopify.
Oh, it's around the world of Africa.
It is built different.
Yeah. And how big is it now? Like, how many people do you have working for you right now?
The people that are working on the mission with me, yes,
on the leadership. Is it only the Bumpa of Africa?
We're about 37 people now. Yeah.
And you told me that you believe in remote work. Tell me about that. Tell me about that a little bit.
Oh no, we always started during COVID.
Yes.
So like we
were forced to do it.
Yes, we were forced to do that, and so we had to build capabilities to enable remote work to work for us. And one of the key things is ownership. Right, everybody in the company, you have to own something. You have to be responsible for something. You have to be able to, run towards something. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes people have to come together to do stuff, but it's based on what you need to do. Right, if you need to come in to shoot content, obviously you need to be physical. Right, but apart from that, you can work remotely entirely. Right, and that's where I think we have just been used to it and it has worked for us and it's still continuing to work for us. One of the benefits is the fact that we are not limited in sourcing for talent in a particular location. So we're open to anybody.
Yeah.
Literally, if you're anywhere, you can just apply to work with us, and as long as it works and the pay works for you,
Yeah. We're down the team.
because and I think that's one good thing that remote work offers. Yeah, not being limited as long. So, but certain things that we do is that we do not take excuses.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot come and say, hey, we don't have power. There's a lot of those things exist in the company. Like, for instance, like there's this solar. So you guys have constant light, right?
Yes. We don't know none of that stuff.
In Nigeria, we don't have. So one of the things is like people can give excuses about power, right? So we have like this small, it's like a solar inverter battery, right? And then everybody, you can get it if you want, you get it and company pays 50% and the rest is sort of like prorated for you as a loan, right? And what that does is to ensure that your computer never dies, right? You don't have to take it, but it means that you cannot actually give that excuse. Yeah, like it's not possible, right? And so those are like things that we'll put in place to ensure that we don't see excuses, and then we're designing companies such that everybody owns things. Obviously, some of these things can change over time, but for now, it's working for us.
Yeah, makes sense. And how many businesses are using have been digitized?
Yeah. Right now, we'll say over 100,000. 100,000 in Nigeria, and so like right now we're thinking about how do we, bring this goodness, this measure to other parts of Africa.
Yeah. What are the markets you're looking at?
Right now, I would say a few markets come to mind. South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, Ghana.
Why Rwanda?
Zambia.
Why Rwanda?
Rwanda. I think so. I have a different way that I'm thinking about my expansion, because for me, it is still an experiment. Right? I'm not even when I'm coming into a country, I'm not going to be spending money. I'm going to be working with partners, like people that have the reach already. I just want to, hey, see the capability. I want to help you make more money, right? By providing my capability to your customers, right? So, but the experiment there for me is working with a big market and a smaller market, right? And seeing how the thing works. Yep. Right. So for East Africa, it's Kenya, Rwanda, South Africa, Zambia, Nigeria, Ghana. So it's like work with a big market, work with a small market, and try to see, what can work, and how we can make it work. So I'm thinking about the strategies also for both a little bit different to see what basically works for us, because obviously in a big market you have a lot more competition. You have, it's more difficult to enter, but there's more money. So it's like how you scale. Yes, how you think about this will be different from how you think about entering a market that, they are open, to new products. And some of these big companies, they find it like maybe it's too small for them. For us, it's like we can actually, come into those market and hopefully get accepted by the market.
Yeah. And let's talk about this notion of not having salespeople. See, how do you get 100,000 people, businesses, to use your product without having a sales team? How do you do that?
Marketing. Remember, also we're in a big market, right? So
how do you even get 1,000 people without having salespeople?
We got our first 1,000 people on Bumpa based on an email that was sent by a company that serves businesses. So I don't think like it's difficult. It's more like, what is the proposition? How are you selling it? Like, for instance, all of those people now, they're using it for free. Like, so it's like, what's the proposition for them? Like, so I think it's usually going to be different depending on the target. So when we say businesses, if you're targeting businesses like Bumpa and you are thinking you get 800,000. No, you need a sales team for that, right? But we are targeting, I call it B to small b. Yeah. Right? The small b there stands for small businesses. And why I say that is because the thinking about small businesses, you think about them as C, B2C. Yeah. Right? So, and what that means, because you're dealing with the owner, right? You can basically design for reaching the owner. For instance, if you were going to reach an enterprise customer, to reach the owner is going to be difficult. Yeah. Another thing is that the owner may not even be the person that needs to pay for the solution. Maybe you're selling a HR. A HR solution. It's the HR that you will need to make, that will need to make that, decision, or even bring up multiple decision products there, or samples to give for approval.
Are you saying it because you want to send me to your HR?
I get you. My point is that I think it depends. So for us, because it's B2C, it's like we can now reach out to different kind of partners that can get you, a lot of people. So for instance, because if you're trying to reach out to businesses like they're going to reach out to, many of them, for instance, don't even have a registered business name. So you don't even have registered business account. So it means they only use their personal account, which goes out to that B2C. It's like they are just the C. And so how do you target that person? So if you work with a bank, for instance, and they push you to their entire customer base, that gives you a lot of people, right? Because it's the C. And a lot of people are business owners in Nigeria, right? We have, based on the stats, they say about 40 million businesses, right? So, it's not necessarily that big when you look at the market.
Yeah, it's true. 40 million people, that's crazy.
Almost anybody is selling something.
Exactly. Hats and t-shirts. Let's talk about the hottest topic in tech. All right. Fundraising versus bootstrapping. All right. First of all, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Every founder you meet, we're crying about funding. Oh, we need more funding. Oh, we need this.
How are you asking a venture funded setup?
I don't know. What are your thoughts around that? Shoot everybody, because I think there's this big thing in entrepreneurship where everybody, especially in tech entrepreneurship, where everybody feels like once they've raised, that is success, right? Success is I've raised and I'm on TechCrunch, and a bunch of people are talking about me on Twitter or X and LinkedIn, right? And that's a big vanity metric, I would say. As opposed to going back to the fundamentals of you are building a business, and the business goes back to you should be celebrating if customers are the ones writing about you and saying you changed my life. Yeah. So I just want to, what are your thoughts when it comes to should every business be thinking about fundraising, or did we get it wrong somewhere?
Wait, why do you think like we got it wrong somewhere?
No, because I feel like we lost track of what a business is, right? I think a lot of people.
Why do you feel like we lost track?
Because a lot of people started celebrating it too much, and there's always FOMO. I think we as human beings, we like to be part of a tribe. So whatever is popular in our friends groups, all of us want to adopt it. So if a few people are fundraising and they're being everywhere, then everybody who's an aspiring founder who feels like that is what success is, because everybody's celebrating that, right?
Yeah.
So then everybody wants to do it, and they feel like if they don't do it, then they're not a success, right? And then so you have a wave of founders who are chasing that article, who are chasing those millions of dollars, and then they end up building a business and it flops, right? Because it's not based on the right fundamentals, right? So yeah, what are your thoughts on, as an ecosystem, as an African ecosystem, right? What happened, especially in the COVID bubble? That was pretty crazy.
I think, the entire thing about funding is, it's based on where the company is, what they're going for,
Yeah.
right? I think like obviously not everybody needs to raise, right? A lot of people think about funding as just equity funding, but there obviously other ways to raise money. I know a company that got millions of dollars in grant funding, for instance. Like we have also gotten grant funding at some point in 2021 by Google. Yeah, I did. I know you got to say it. Yeah. um, so I don't think that it's a this or that. I think it's depending on what your business needs at the time, right? Obviously, people celebrate it because it is like, hey, I'm getting closer to my goal, right? I don't think that it should not be celebrated, um, but maybe other kind of funding should be celebrated as we're celebrating that. So for instance, grant funding, does it get the same kind of announcement? And maybe it does in a way.
I mean, there's a negative, what is it, press around grant funding, right? Because, I think we were even talking about it with the other Google founders, right? Who were saying that when you get grant funding, you're basically, in a way, it makes you a little bit lazy because the money is there and it's free and it does not have any ties around it. So you just use it to pay your payroll.
I don't know about you guys.
You pay payroll, so you don't optimize for revenues, right? Because you're like, okay, I just got exactly.
Oh, no,
For example,
I think there are people that are not going to be focused on the right things, even if they get money or not. But I don't think it's based off of the because of the funding. I think like there are people that are not necessarily just serious with what they're like. For instance, if you decide that you get grant funding and then it means that you should not work towards your goals. It means that the goals were never there in the first place. Like you were just looking for money. Exactly. And I think that those bad actors will always be there and they will never leave. Like they would be there in every market. It's not just in African market. And I want to always mention this because it feels like maybe because of certain bad press that we've seen, about some bad actor founders, like, oh, then everything is bad. And, but this thing is happening across the markets, right? Across the world. Like, it's not just here. Like, we cannot now start seeing funding in general as bad because how many bad and how many good, right? I think we all should always be looking at the ratio. Like we cannot just say, hey, because this guy, and this, they did something bad. It means that, because all of those kind of conversation, I think like it does not necessarily help. There was this thing where people were talking about, somebody were asking, who are the most fraudulent people in the world, right? And everybody kept on saying Nigeria. But based on the data, Nigeria was not even the top 5.
really,
Yeah.
hard to believe.
Hard to believe, right? Because the press is not saying that case or no guys. And that thing affects, right? Because now if I'm with a Nigerian passport, when I go, people just assume, first of all, that, hey, this young guy, look at me. I'm wearing my rings and like this guy must be fraudulent. Like, and we don't necessarily understand like the impact of all of those kind of, conversations. I don't know that, if I put VCs of the US VCs together, they're talking about the bad actors. Don't give them more press. Just what you're just doing is to give them more, like highlight it the more. Let us learn from it. Like how do we figure out these people and ensure that we're not giving them funding? How do we ensure that, there are more checks going down? How do we put more accountability in place, for founders? But it's not about them. They should not become the poster boys of the entire ecosystem. So I'm sorry, I'm a little bit passionate about this because it is like people, it's just that thing now. I'm hearing it often. Like you go to the events and everybody's just talking about, hey, they are bad. Yes, there would always be bad actors, and I think that we know that from the beginning. Like even when VCs are investing, they know that some of it will be write-off, right? But it should not stop us from investing, because there are also a lot of good actors in the market also, right? And the question is, if we have funded bad actors in the past, how do we ensure we're not funding bad actors in the future? It's not a Nigerian thing, it's not an African thing, it's just bad actors, right? And if we can find ways to, look at data to say, hey, this kind of people, this kind of, maybe these people are talking with our product, they have not built and they are selling. I don't know what exactly, all of the different, press that we've seen about all of this, they're usually very different. Yeah. So like, what are the different things? Hey, is it a founder that is just doing their own thing? Right. What are the things to put in place? The governance check, right? Like for instance, in my company, like there's an amount of money you cannot spend without the investor, like our major investor knowing, right? You understand? Like, what are those checks that you can put in place to ensure that that is not happening? My salary was, fixed by my investor. Yeah. Right. If you don't, there are checks that you can put, but you don't put those checks, and then obviously people would, like, some people can be corrupted also by just the money. Yeah. I, for instance, don't even have access to our money. Like, I cannot make it, like, you cannot hold me now. Like, even if you kidnap me and say I should transfer, I cannot. Why? Because like there are checks to put in place. There's somebody that is going to upload, there's somebody that's going to approve, and it's like there are things to do. So the question is like, how do we start implementing those things and make those things like the common thing, governance, like just to ensure that, money does not corrupt people. Like sometimes I don't even think that the people or the founders, like they plan to do bad. Yeah, I think it's just money being corrupt. Like the money is right there. Hi, sitting down. Why can't I just use it for this? I will still give it back, but then they realized they could not give me it back. Exactly. So
Because many of these founders grew up with no money. So it's like the first time getting a huge chunk and you're like, oh my God.
you just get ideas and stuff, but then like put those checks in place, and the ECs should do more work in ensuring that those checks are in place. And I think that that's like only the kind of conversations we have, and not continuing to bring up, these guys and these guys and these guys. I don't know. There are more doing it. But we don't even hear about it. Yeah. But in Africa, it seems like those are like the superstars. Like those are like the poster boys. Like if you think about, founding in Africa, like founders, like these are the people that you first of all see. Oh, founders. Oh, those guys that are taking, like, what? Because when we start talking of only bad press, what we're doing is also to discourage other founders, to discourage entrepreneurship. And that's supposed to be the bedrock of literally how we're going to grow as an economy, how we're going to grow as a continent. More entrepreneurs. So I don't think like just, making people feel like I still think founders should be celebrated. Entrepreneurs should be celebrated. You should be celebrated. You're doing something and showing that, you're employing. How many people are in your team now?
20.
20 people.
Yeah.
Like you're paying salaries and showing that people, like, that is good. That is good. And nobody should, convince you otherwise that you're doing, you're this or that. No, as long as you're doing nothing illegal, you're not, toxic, and then you're doing good. So that's my own view about the entire thing. I know I took it, like I digressed a bit. No, it is. So, but for the entire question you asked me about, which should go for, I think it depends on the business and where it is, what is needed. Yeah. For most software businesses like mine, we're dealing with scale, and so if you start, and because you're making small money in each person, if I'm gonna do that, I would not even be able to build. Without funding, I would not be able to build and get to the point where I can make enough money to be able to sell to them. Right. But because I've gotten funding, I got the team first. Right. Obviously we were getting small traction. So you see traction, then you add team. I think we got our first 1,000 customers before we even hired one person.
With it?
Yeah.
Just the two of you?
Yeah. And so it's like, we bring in people, and then now we're able to handle a lot more people. And the product at that time was very free. And then we started putting monetization in place. And now we are making revenue that right now can cover the entire payroll without even our funding. And that's amazing. And that's where, and that's where you go. But then without the funding to build, we will probably not be able to get to this point. Right. But say if you're building for enterprise, like say Money Point. And Money Point started with building enterprise, right? And for enterprise, you can get cash in good cash enough that can help you build out the solution. Right. And that's how they built and they started bootstrapping. Right. So I think it's a lot about users. And now because they're going for mass, scale, they now have personal business and they're going for mass market. They have to raise funds because they cannot do it the same way that they did it that time, right? By bootstrapping. And so I think it's also levels. Like when we were building Host Cabal, there was no funding, right? We had our customers. When we started this, we had our first 1,000 customers before we even, but so it depends on when. So obviously anybody that comes into the market thinking like, what, just give me money because I'm a founder. You just say, oh, I built it. Where's the investor? Show me the money. So how it works, you have to do your own part. You have to show certain things, and hopefully you're able to convince other people to join you in the mission. I think the entire thing about funding is getting people that believe in your mission and want to see it, succeed. Yeah. And, thankfully we have people that see that vision and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to work with you to this. And it's not necessarily all fun. I hope people don't see fundraising as just all fun.
Oh yeah, that's what they see. It's
Best is like it's very difficult. Yeah, but beyond that, it's also selling parts of your company to people. Right? It means that you are not the entire decision maker in the company. It means that you have to, like, I have to report to my investors. I've not missed any report that since I started, but I have to constantly, prepare my reports to the investors, let them know what's happening. They have to, all of those kind of things. It's not easy. Especially if you feel like you want to be, I want to be the boss. Your investors have become your boss, right? So you're like, for me, as I said now, like my investors determine my salary. If I did not have an investor, I would decide I don't have. Exactly. Now, even before I started expanding, I had to discuss with my investors. Hey, look at this. I think like this would be good. So and that's not easy. So it brings in a lot of complication into your business. So you have to think about it and weigh it. But for some businesses, you cannot succeed there without funding. But the question is, funding at what time? At what point? True. Have you done your part? Have you ensured that you've exhausted all the means? Like, it's not also going to be a bed of roses to just say, hey, because I built it, people are going to give me money. No, you would have to convince. And that's where the selling comes in. No matter how great you are with your tech, if you don't know how to sell, either you go and learn it, put yourself out there, as we said from the beginning of this podcast, or find somebody that can do that and, ensure that they join you on the journey.
No, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. I think my view has definitely evolved because what I started realizing is, when you're getting started in your entrepreneurship journey, right? You're excited to want to raise very quickly. You're like, hey, please give me money. Please give me money. Anybody give me money. And then people are not giving you money. And then you're getting frustrated. You're like, why is this happening? Like, there's no funding in Africa and whatever. But then you stop understanding, what it actually takes for you to raise money, right? Because most of these people are giving you money, right? They're looking for a return. It's not charity. It's not like I like you and I like what you're trying to do. And if you don't do that, go for grants. Exactly, go for grants. So what I see a lot with, let's say, up and coming entrepreneurs as well is that hunger of saying, I need to raise. And I'm like, why do you need to raise? Like, let's really break it down. Why do you need to raise? Let's go to the fundamentals of it. Have you built a product? Do you have some traction? Do you have people who are paying you? And maybe the only reason you can't service this market is because you don't have the funding. Because somebody would be willing to give you money for that. Yeah. If you're like, hey, I have these 100 customers, I cannot be able to support them because I don't have the money. So give me money so I can do this, because you have a guarantee that I can bring it back at some point. So I think business models is very interesting.
Someone introduced me to a startup founder recently, and said, hey, this guy, he's building stuff, he needs some funding. I was like, I don't necessarily fund companies, but he said, just speak to him. And I said, okay. I spoke to this guy. This guy has spent the last 2 years building like multiple products, features, blah, blah, blah. He has no customer. One customer that can even say this thing makes sense. None. And he has exhausted all the free credits, all of those things. And now he's saying, hey, give me funding on what has not been tested. So I went back to the person that did the intro. I said, hey, this call was a little bit too late. Right? Don't get me wrong. It's not like he cannot figure it out from now. My point is like, maybe 6 months in, you need a customer. There is no how that you should not start with a customer. And for instance, what you told me today, where you said, hey, that you're interested in expanding into Nigeria, but you need me to be the customer first, right? That's it. It's like when I came here when I was in Kenya, now I have like 5 people that are ready to pay me. And that's my excuse. Just like you, that's my excuse to say, oh, yes, I'm going to make it work for those 5 customers. And from there, then we'll see how it goes. But then you don't want to get anybody to even validate what you're building. And you're just there in this high. And then you think that somebody is just going to give you money. Think about it. If you are the funder, I asked the person, right? Because guy was like, oh no, the thing is nice. I said, if you have your money today, like your own savings, would you give it to the guy? He said, no. I said, that's the distance. If nobody can give you your savings, why do you think that you should be funded?
Yeah.
It is because actually you think that the guy will fail. Give him your savings if you actually believe in it.
Exactly.
Me that started a company, like I remember when we were putting in money, like I was working, I would get my salary and I pay the person that we hired, right? Why do you do that? That's like, you're investing because you know that, there's something here. If you cannot invest your personality, then you don't like.
It is not worth.
You don't entirely believe in it.
Exactly, man. It's really about creating value. I mean, that's the fundamental of business, right? You're creating value for a customer and they're willing to pay to have that pain taken away.
It was literally like the most important. That willingness is the validation that you need to actually get to the next level. Without that, you don't even have anything.
Exactly.
You have just spent time, building something cool. Building something like
for yourself, a nice little tool.
That is cool. The guy was like, oh, I use it. I'm like, okay, of course, you would use it.
You're up force.
And I told you, why won't I just use Google Maps for this?
Yeah.
And he's like, Google Maps is not great. I'm like, excuse you, great. I use Google Maps every
single day.
You can't tell me that you want to, disrupt Google Maps and it's not even anything as good. And you're just telling me it's because people, like, I was just like, there's a lot that you need to figure out. And I don't even know if I have the time to help you figure this out. I might try, because you know how founders are, we're founder. We're very stubborn,
Like, you don't know. You don't get it, man. You don't know the market. But it's like, you're not the target market. You will never get it.
No, I'm like, if I use Google Maps so I can use this. So, but then you're telling me, I'm just like, hey, there's still a lot. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate his, the work that he's putting in. I think like we need to appreciate all the founders, man. With the clap for just that you're able to say, hey, this is something, and I want to solve this problem. I think and I'm going to start it. I'm going to get people on it. I'm going to build it. And I think that in itself needs to be celebrated. Because we need a lot more people doing that. Right? Even if you fail, it's fine, but just do it. Just start. Like more people solving all the problems. I think like Africa will get to where we need to.
Yeah.
We need to get it.
People might look at you, Kelvin. Big stages, Google, getting invited to Google, to speak at Google, getting funded by Google. all these different things. And somebody somewhere, in Africa, listening to this, our conversation or watching us, and they're like, okay, I would love to become the next Kelvin. I'm very inspired. Do you think entrepreneurship is for everyone?
You just reminded me that they're watching us. I even forgot. Like our internet conversation. That I forgot that that entrepreneurship being for everyone. I think that entrepreneurship is not for everyone, right? I don't think everybody need to go through all of those things to prove a point or to solve problems. I think that everybody just needs to add value, create value, show value, right? Find a mission. So it does not have to always be yours. You can actually do all of those things with someone else, like in a company. Like, I think that that's what is most important, right? So I'm not that big believer of, hey, everybody must be an entrepreneur. I celebrate entrepreneurs, but I don't think that everybody have it in them, because it takes a lot. And, just going through all of those things, there's a number of things that will be going through your head, the number of things that you have to deal with, Sometimes, when you think about it, if I ask you now, I'm sure you say there's nothing you'd rather be doing, right? That's how. But then, for someone else, there's something they'd rather be doing, and if you have that thing that you'd rather be doing, please go do that thing, right? But for someone like us that have gone through it and are in it, and and you still feel like there's nothing you'd rather be doing, please just be doing it. Don't stop. Even if the product that you're working on, even if it fails, start another one, right? Because we need more of entrepreneurs. But if you see yourself, being like the ups and downs, and it's like causing you health issues, mental challenges, just please don't kill yourself. Good. Like, because for me, when I go through all of those things, it is exciting. Right? The up or the down, it is exciting, right? The ability for me to just be building, creating new things, serving customers, it is exciting for me. Like, I get today now, I think I've spoken with 3 or 4 customers already, right? Some of my top merchants, right? Because they reach out to me for anything, right? Hey, one of them was like, she sent me her numbers. Like, she did like 129 million naira this last month, to me, right? Broke her record, because she was coming from 100. The month before that, she was on 77. She just sent it to me. Hey, and we are talking about it. Another one is like, hey, like, somebody else would get all of those things and feel pressured and feel frustrated and feel overwhelmed. That conversation for me is I love it. I want more. I even told them, ensure you are reaching out to me. Please, anytime. I have conversations with some of my customers at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. I had conversations midnight.
And it doesn't bother you.
It does not bother me. I know that it has bothered my partner. It doesn't bother me, right? And that's the thing there. So I think entrepreneurship may not be for everyone, right? I think the most things everybody needs to be thinking about is, how do I create value?
Yeah.
How do I, find purpose in something, right? Either I find that purpose in what I want to do, deliver by myself, or in something, some other mission that I'm seeing somebody trying to achieve. Like somebody feeling, hey, I actually like, this mission that Yusuf is working on. Like, I want to add value to it because I have this skill, and then I'm going to join it. And I think that that's what brings fulfillment into everyone. Either you're a founder or you're not a founder, entrepreneur or not, is the fact that you feel like the work that you're doing matters. It's something that we remind ourselves in the company every time, right? This is why we are doing this. Especially when we see some comments, when people say, hey, this would not have been possible without Bumpa. Like, so 2 people now, they ran sales, in one day, they did like, just these 2 merchants did like 50 million naira. They not like, it was not going to be possible to take that orders on WhatsApp and Instagram, chatting with everybody. It's because they're using Bumpa, right? They're able to do that. They're not thinking about their website crashing. They're like a lot of the, complexity has been abstracted. That's why it's possible. And when we do that, we tell ourselves, this is why we're doing it, right? And that alone is good enough to make somebody to say, I just want to continue. This gives me purpose, right? And so I think that's what the important thing, not if you're an entrepreneur or not. No, I think sometimes you will make more money. I know my friends are making more money than I am, and they're not entrepreneurs job. They're working for foreign company, taking money, girls, they're happy. They're living good lives, and it's fine, right? So I think it's just about adding value wherever you find yourself. And if the opportunity comes for you to try out something, to build something, go for it. Yeah. And I think that's the only way you would know if you should do it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's next for Bumpa?
What's next for Bumpa? Bumpa. So I think I described my mission, like the mission that we're working on for. First is every business is a tech business. The next is how do we connect everything? I think a lot of what we're doing now is connecting everything. So now more people are using the tech product. Now we move to connect everything. So it's like, how do I have my product on Bumpa and now it's available on Gigi? It's available on Jumia. It's available on Amazon. It's like without needing to do much. How do I just get an order and the logistics guy just comes to pick it up without me thinking, how do I connect? That's like literally the phase that we're going to when, going into the next year. And the second thing is obviously opening ourselves to more markets, right? In Africa at least. So that's like, when you think about like the top things in our mind is these things. Also serving bigger businesses. That's probably the third thing because we realize that the capabilities that we built works for both small and big businesses alike. So we're just gonna double down because they are paying us a lot more. So we would accept them. Exactly. And that's why I said I'm gonna build a sales team, next year because like now we'll build all these capabilities that many people can basically, big businesses can basically adopt. So yeah, those are like three key things in our minds, That's the next phase.
Kelvin, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much. This was lovely conversation here. Looking forward to working with people in Rwanda. Hopefully businesses in Rwanda see what we're building and want to join into the mission. But also partners, so fintech partners, logistics partner. We want to work with them. So please feel free to reach out. Yeah, I'm doing. You see, as I'm selling myself. You did not ask me to sell. Yeah, I'll sell myself. Tell yourself, please. I don't need permission. Everybody reach out to Bumpa. Yes. Bumpa.com. BUMPA.com.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. Thank you so much. And wish you all the best with 2025.
Awesome.
Cheers, man.
Thank you so much. You too, bro.